Right now, there is a version of you that made a different choice, not in a science fiction sense, not in a metaphor, in a way that is increasingly difficult for the most rigorous minds in physics to dismiss. There may be a version of you that took the other job, stayed in that relationship, said the thing you swallowed, walked through the door you turned away from. And that version is not a fantasy. It is not a daydream. According to some of the most serious interpretations of quantum mechanics, it is real. As real as the version sitting here right now, reading these words, inside the particular reality your choices have assembled around you. But here's what's more immediately unsettling than the physics. Even if we set the multiverse entirely aside, even if we stay inside the boundaries of what is verifiably, concretely happening right now, you are already existing in multiple realities simultaneously. The reality inside your nervous system, the reality constructed by your beliefs, the reality other people are experiencing when they experience you, the reality of who you are becoming, pulling at the reality of who you have been. These are not the same reality, and the gap between them is where most human suffering lives. So let's go there. From quantum physics all the way down to the texture of your daily life. Because this idea isn't just fascinating, it's useful. Part 1. What physics actually says. In 1957, a physicist named Hugh Everett proposed something that the scientific establishment initially treated as career suicide. He suggested that the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, the dominant model at the time, was making an unjustified assumption. The Copenhagen model said that when a quantum system is observed, its wave function collapses into a single outcome. Before observation, a particle exists in superposition, in multiple states simultaneously. Observation forces it to choose one. Everett asked a simple and devastating question. Why does observation cause collapse? What is special about observation? What mechanism makes the universe pick one outcome and discard all the others? His answer, nothing. There is no collapse. Every possible outcome of every quantum event actually occurs, but in branching, non-communicating versions of reality. What we experience as the collapse into one outcome is simply our branch of the wave function becoming isolated from the others. This is the many worlds interpretation. And it is not fringe science. It is taken seriously by a significant portion of theoretical physicists today, including many at the most respected institutions in the world. What it implies is almost too large to hold. Every quantum event, and quantum events underlie all physical events, branches reality into every possible outcome. Every moment the universe is not choosing. It is multiplying. Somewhere in that structure, every version of every choice you have ever faced has been realized. Not imagined, realized. Part 2. The realities you're already living. But let's bring this closer, because you don't need to resolve the physics to recognize that multiple realities are already operating in your life, right now, today. Consider this. The reality you inhabit is not the reality the people around you inhabit. Even when you share the same room, the same conversation, the same event. You are each inside a different rendering, shaped by different histories, different nervous systems, different invisible architectures of belief and expectation. Your partner, your colleague, your oldest friend, they are not experiencing you the way you experience yourself. They are experiencing a version of you assembled from the fragments you've shown them, filtered through everything their own history has taught them to see. That version of you is real. It exists. It has consequences. but it is not the same as the version you carry inside. And then there is the reality of who you have been, the past self whose decisions created the present you're standing in, and the reality of who you are becoming, which is already exerting pressure on your present, pulling your attention toward it, generating discomfort in the gap between current self and emerging self. You are simultaneously the person your past made you and the person your future is demanding you become. Both are real, both are operating, and the friction between them is not a problem to be resolved. It is the engine of your development. Most people experience this friction as anxiety, restlessness, or a vague sense that something is unfinished. What it actually is the sensation of existing across multiple versions of yourself at once. Part 3. The Reality Gap. Here is where this becomes practical in a way that can genuinely change how you operate. Every human being lives with a gap between two realities, the reality they are in and the reality they are about, the life they are actually living, and the life that corresponds to who they most deeply are. Sometimes this gap is small. The life and the self are roughly aligned. Values expressed in action, relationships that reflect genuine connection, work that draws on what is actually there. But often, more often than most people admit, the gap is enormous. The life was built to satisfy external expectations, or to manage old fears, or to prove something to someone who stopped watching decades ago. And the self that got built around those imperatives is now living in a reality that fundamentally does not fit. The tension this produces is real. It shows up as chronic low-grade dissatisfaction that can't be explained by circumstances, as the sense that you are performing a version of yourself rather than being one, as the exhausting labor of maintaining a reality that was never actually yours. And the most dangerous thing about this gap is that it becomes invisible. The performed reality becomes habitual. The inauthenticity stops feeling like inauthenticity and starts feeling like just how things are. The constructed self forgets it was constructed, but the deeper self doesn't forget. It keeps sending signals. Through restlessness, through dreams, through the sudden ache that arrives when you see someone living with a freedom you told yourself you didn't need. The gap doesn't close by itself. It closes by choice. By deliberately stepping from the reality you inherited into the reality that actually corresponds to what you are. Part 4. Choosing your reality consciously. So if multiple realities are available, if the branching is real, if the gap is real, if the version of you that is more fully alive is genuinely accessible, what does it actually take to shift? The first thing to understand is that you are already choosing your reality. Constantly, unconsciously. Every belief you hold about what is possible, what you deserve, what the world is like, these are not neutral observations. They are filters that determine which data reaches you and which gets discarded before you ever know it was there. The person who believes they are fundamentally unlovable is not living in the same reality as the person who believes they are worthy of connection, even if their external circumstances are identical. They are inhabiting different worlds, constructed from the same raw material, but assembled by entirely different instructions. Shifting reality is not wishful thinking. It is the deliberate process of updating the instructions. It begins with identifying which reality you are currently operating inside, not the one you tell people about, but the one your behavior reveals. What does the way you spend your time say about what you believe is real and possible? What does the way you treat yourself when no one is watching say about the reality you inhabit? And then, which reality corresponds to who you actually are beneath the accumulation of conditioning, not an idealized fantasy, but the version of your life where you are no longer spending energy maintaining a self that doesn't fit? That reality is not somewhere else. It is not in another branch of the wave function inaccessible to you. It is available in the next decision, the next conversation, the next moment you choose presence over performance and truth over comfort. Somewhere in the structure of what is real, every version of you exists. The version that stayed small to keep others comfortable. The version that broke open and rebuilt into something truer. The version still running on old instructions. And the version that stopped, paused, looked honestly at the gap, and decided to close it. All of those versions are real. All of them have weight and consequence and a full life built around them. But only one of them is the version you are actively choosing right now. Not by what you say, not by what you intend, by what you actually do with the next moment available to you. Multiple realities are not a physics curiosity. They are the permanent condition of being human. The constant simultaneous existence in who you have been, who you are, and who you are capable of becoming. The only question that matters is simple. Which one are you choosing to make more real? If this cracked something open, share it with someone standing at a crossroads. They don't need more information. They need permission to believe that the other reality is actually available to them. See you in the next one.